Bem-vindos aos Sinais do Tempo, uma boa noite para si. O mercado e a acumulação de capital e de mais-valias são hoje a forma absolutamente dominante de organização social. O colapso da União Soviética e dos países ditos comunistas tornou praticamente incontestáveis as teses liberais, ou mesmo as ultraliberais, que defendem um papel mínimo para o Estado e se mostram confiantes no equilíbrio e na capacidade autorreguladora das forças económicas privadas. É assim que as noções de bem comum e de património público começam a ser profundamente alteradas e as responsabilidades do Estado em áreas até aqui essenciais são cada vez mais postas em causa. Água, sementes, códigos genéticos, serviços de saúde, estes setores são hoje privatizados e sujeitos às flutuações e aos preços do mercado. Poucas áreas escapam à privatização de tudo o que existe e pode ser explorado comercialmente e dar lucro. Mas levanta-se a questão de ver o que é feito do bem comum e quais as consequências de alterar valores que foram o cimento de vastas sociedades humanas durante gerações. O documentário que vamos ver, de origem canadiana, apresenta-nos casos filmados na América do Norte, no México, em França, no Brasil e na Índia e ilustra a contradição entre bem comum e interesse privado.
O empresário todo-poderoso contemplou a sua obra. O mercado expandira o seu império até abranger toda a terra, desenvolvendo-se como até então nunca aconteceu. Contudo, muitos recursos ainda escapavam ao seu domínio. Recursos que alguns idealistas ingenuamente tentavam manter fora do mercado, em nome do bem comum. Para o empresário, este conceito de bem comum tornou-se o único obstáculo entre ele e o seu derradeiro objetivo: transformar todo o planeta num negócio e declarar o mercado total. Assim, o empresário partiu numa viagem de negócios que iria mudar a face da Terra. Desde a aurora dos tempos, o volume de água na Terra não se alterou. Todavia, não se pode dizer o mesmo da sua qualidade. O empresário, mestre na exploração da escassez, pensou que já não havia alternativa. Era a altura de transformar a água num negócio, deixando que a mão invisível do mercado regulasse o seu comércio.
Looking at the water situation around the world, we very fast began to realize that there was a shortage of water all over the planet. And with this lake here, I mean, it's a very unique lake, very good quality of water, and we just got the idea of looking to do something with it, you know, to get it out and to market the water. Like the flow from Gisborne Lake, of course, is it's 100 million cubic meters a year. So we were looking at taking 25 million, which is 1/4 of the flow from the lake. If you try to stockpile it, where's it going to go? Can't be done. It's going to go anyway.
I think that if you say there's an excess of water, that you're taking a very narrow view of what water does. Really, what that fresh water does when it reaches the ocean is it floats on top of the salt water. And as it moves out, it mixes up the nutrients and everything that is in the salty water down below and makes the places where rivers flow in, those estuaries, very, very productive.
I had to do a 2.5 or 3 year environmental impact study, and anybody else that want to take water from Newfoundland or anywhere else are going to have to do the same studies. It all has to be done. And then if there's available water, if it's a surplus of water, then we should sell it. It should go. We should do it.
Any province that starts to export bulk water for commercial purposes basically triggers the North American Free Trade Agreement. Therefore, water will become a tradable commodity just like anything else, cars or widgets or whatever else. That means that you can't favor your domestic private sector. You'll have to allow American corporations in. That means you can't just say one province can export it, but others can't. That means that once the tap is turned on to the United States or other NAFTA countries, we can't turn it off. We can't diminish it. We can only allow it to become greater. And we can place no environmental restrictions on that because that's a good between the two countries.
Today, of course, the moratorium is on, but the federal government seems to be not so hard to stand on bulk water anymore. I think they're beginning to realize that we have a resource here that's worth some money, and I think it's a good thing. You know, it's almost like saying that you're not going to sell your water. It's almost like saying Saudi Arabia saying, look, we're not going to sell our oil. It's the same thing.
We speak of these things as resources, and we do the same thing with iron and copper and nickel and things like this. But in all of these sorts of things, you have a choice. You know, if you don't use the iron, well, maybe the nickel would do as well. Or if you don't use the oil, well, maybe gas or something would do as well. But water is very, very different from this because there is no alternative. There is only water. It is the essential ingredient of life. If you don't have water, you don't have life.
Cuando estaba muy arriba el agua, bajaba el agua, la gente sembraba calabaza, melones, sandía, maíz. Entonces eso se acabó. No más agricultura, pescado no hay, se acabó el río, se acabó todo. El agua llegaba hasta aquí. Estos palos eran para proteger que las olas no comieran. Entonces, era mucha agua. De aquí era el río doble que está ahí.
¿Y por qué no hay agua más?
Porque no hay, pues porque Estados Unidos la tiene detenida y no hay agua.
This is a man-made delivery canal. It's called the All-American Canal, and it takes water from the Colorado River to the Imperial Irrigation District. This canal takes so much water that it, more than any other canal or many other structures on the Colorado River, is the fundamental cause of the death of the Colorado River. This is the Imperial Valley Irrigation District, located in one of the driest deserts in the world. You know, in an area that gets less than 3 inches of rainfall a year, you have crops like alfalfa and wheat and many livestock. It's a huge landscape of agribusiness. It's not agriculture, it's agribusiness. On top of the former desert ecosystem, there is no living with the ecosystem. This is a place where resources are exploited and the goods are taken elsewhere for market. So it's not a question of people needing water, it's a question of big business needing water. Water belongs to the ecosystem from which it comes. That's the only way to look at water if we are to balance conservation of the ecosystem with use. Instead, people, especially in the United States, look upon water only as a commodity, only something to use for profit. And when that mentality is held up so high, you lose all other values.
I think it's time that we had a little drink of of Gisborne Lake. Very clear, cool water. That's a very good water, there's no doubt. I would recommend it to anybody.
We do have to ask ourselves what we owe as a water-rich country to the rest of the world. We have to have that debate within the framework of water as part of the commons. Should it be priced? I don't know, let's talk about it, but not if it's going to some bottom line investor to make a profit from. Should it be sold and traded? No. Should it be shared? Maybe, but it should be shared on humanitarian grounds. What these corporations are talking about, what these businessmen are talking about, what the trade agreements are talking about is taking water from the good, as a common good, to making it a private commodity and then controlling it and selling it for profit. This means that that water will get to those corporations or those cities or those places that can afford to buy it, and it will never get to the millions and millions of the world's people who are desperately needing it.
Todos los pájaros que oyen, pues están como los indios, no tienen derecho a agua. ¿Por qué? Porque este que viene, pues ahí sobrevive uno. Todo lo que mira uno vivo en estos lugares no tienen derecho de vivir. ¿Por qué? Porque no tienen agua. Ni el viento que respiramos es de nosotros. ¿Por qué? Porque ya estamos todos contaminados. Entonces vemos muy mal todo. Todas las cosas no las vemos como algo grande y alto. Porque para nosotros es muy sagrado, pero para otros no, es puro negocio.
E o empresário contemplou a sua obra e viu que ela era boa para os acionistas.